Heidi-ho, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
I'm John Humphrey.
We are about to do an in-depth spoiler talk for Spider-Man Far From Home. But before we sling on over into this review, see what I did there, I would like to give a big thank you to our video sponsor today. I'm so excited to be partnered with them. I joked about that we're going to be sponsored by them one day, and now here they are, SKILLSHARE!
That's right, guys. If you're somehow not familiar with SKILLSHARE, if you live under a rock, SKILLSHARE is an online community for creators of all levels that offers courses in art, business, design, a whole bunch of different things.
With a premium membership to Skillshare, you can gain unlimited access to more than 25,000 courses, so you can find the community and learning sensibility that's right for you.
So far with our trial membership, we've been checking out the film and cinematography courses, brushing up on the old skills.
If you're looking to bump up your work to movie quality, Ryan Booth gives an awesome class on DIY cinematography.
Or if you're itching to get out and shoot with what's already in your pocket, Cielo de la Paz has a great crash course on shooting and editing video with your iPhone. And if all this wasn't enough, Skillshare is giving away 2 free months of membership, unlimited trial access to any and all Real Reject subscribers who go down into that description box and hit our special link.
Then after that, this service is only around $10 a month. So hit our special link and join more than 7 million creators who are learning, sharing, and growing over on Skillshare. Now let's sling on over to that review transition. All right, guys, so we got Andrew Gordon here with us. How's he doing, Andrew?
I'm doing. How are you doing, Greg?
I'm doing good. All right, let's hop right into it. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this. And thank you, Luke Gaming, for letting us prop our boxes up here for the microphones. I appreciate that. We had to fit all 3 of us in the shot today. For us, we're not going to do like a whole breakdown of the entire movie. We have some basic notes of what we ultimately would like to cover. If something comes up, something comes up. I guess I would kick it off right away with this. The big reveal. Mysterio's a bad guy.
What?
Who saw that coming?
That's an illusion right there. No.
I gotta ask you guys, did you have any doubt at all, though, that he wouldn't be a bad guy? Like, did the movie ever have you going?
No.
The film itself didn't, and that goes back to something we touched on in the non-spoiler review, because like I kept feeling like if they just added a couple more scenes, I might have bought it, but I kept feeling that the movie was trying to get to something with that. With all we know about Mysterio, I thought they might have taken, before the movie, I was like, oh, maybe they will make him some kind of weird good guy or do something different, and I was hoping that
I thought we might like watch him turn into a bad guy.
Yeah, or have him become one of those antagonists who isn't a bad guy, but is somehow, opposed directly to our heroes or whatever.
I feel like most of us who have a basic understanding of the Mysterio character watch the trailers and we're like, elementals are fake, Mysterio's trying to do. Like, we all sort of predicted that. I know we're not the only ones. Pretty much everyone thought that. But I thought the handling of it was done pretty well. I guess my one thing is I wish they sort of did a little something more with the personality of Quentin Beck. Is that his real name? No, that's not his real name, right? That's
Jake Gyllenhaal is an actor.
And
you know what I mean.
The character is his character, is he actually called Quentin Beck? Because
as far as I know, that's what I know his name to be.
That slightly made me question it, because I was like, wait a minute, wouldn't they have like this whole background on him then, that he worked for Stark if his name was Quentin Beck, and that he helped create the B.A.R.F technology and all these things? Wouldn't they have been able to find that?
That was a cool callback. And you would think that especially if it's Stark tech in any way, shape, or form, the security would be astronomical.
Right? They should have had that info, or maybe he managed to erase it because he worked within the company or something like that.
I agree with you, but I mean, getting back to your question on did we see if Mysterio was going to be a bad guy? I mean, if you, like you guys said, if you know anything about Mysterio, you knew he was probably going to be, but I thought at first they were going to angle more into all right, he's a good guy who's turning into a bad guy, like for reasons, as opposed to, what we found out later on in the film during that bar scene is that Tony had fired him because he was unstable. I guess everyone so far in a Spider-Man movie, their hatred stems towards Tony Stark. You know what, that bar scene where he was like revealing everything and then we got the whole projection, I mean, I thought that was just done in a very interesting way.
It was still really cool.
I'm not saying the movie was lifeless up until that point. The first half was just, it was It's okay. It's by the numbers.
It was just
it's fine.
predictable and by the numbers.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that we all saw it coming from the trailers,
Yeah.
I felt like the movie could have done a little bit of a better job at selling us more in terms of maybe giving Quentin Beck, that's why I brought his name up, giving Quentin Beck a bit more of a personality. I get what he was doing. He was trying to channel the superhero model in order to sell it. And he even like talks about that. Like, people only listen to you if you shoot lasers out of your hands and you have a cape. Like, he riffs on that. At the same time, though, I thought his personality was so like bland before and I got the intention of it. I liked that John Watts did not have any lingering shots on him before the big reveal, especially when they closed the door at the bar of like, oh, look at the look he's given. Maybe he's a bad guy, you know? Like, not have these like lingering mysterious shots of maybe he really is a bad guy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like it doesn't do a whole lot to suggest that he is, and it also doesn't do a whole lot to suggest that he's not. The credit I will give to them is that when the reversal does come down, I still was bummed out in context, and I still cared. I was still invested in that moment. I just, would have liked to have bought it.
There were also a couple lines of his that I did like, where he was like interacting with Peter. He was like, Peter, don't ever apologize for being the smartest guy in the room. Like, there were a couple exchanges between him. I'm not saying like personality wise he was like, oh my god, I am so invested in this character, but there were definitely some interactions between him and Peter where I was like, I'm actually enjoying, at least the dialogue here.
I'll give you that the mentorship thing that they wanted to sell us on, I bought into why Peter would ultimately be persuaded by him and even give over the Edith glasses.
Spoiler! In the right place.
But talking about that bar scene, I loved it.
That was really cool.
He gives us like giant exposition dump to explain everything, and the only reason that exposition dump works is because of Jake Gyllenhaal's performance.
Yeah.
Just how gleeful he is, and this idea of how much he's had to do to sell this thing, and now that they finally got the ultimate goal, that there's hope for what they want to accomplish. I did love they decided to change the background of Quentin Beck. Like, you still got the essential ingredients, a guy who can create illusions. His name's Quentin Beck.
Fishbowl helmet.
The costume design and everything I thought was really great to keep that. The idea of giving him a team to work with, his background as Stark Tech, that made it work so much better in terms of reality, because I guess I was wondering if we're gonna watch him turn into a bad guy, because I was thinking, are they gonna do some reveal where he's really a stuntman and he's pulling all this off? Because I just won't buy that. I won't be able to buy it. But what they went with for this story to make it believable, I thought was great. In the reveal, there was a lot of cool things. When they brought it back to the B.A.R.F technology, I love how we just casually say it like it's not funny.
Once he lays
retroframing.
I was gonna say, once he lays the acronym out, you're just like, oh, okay, yeah.
But when they went back to the B.A.R.F technology from Civil War, I was happy they brought it up, because I remember they brought it up in Civil War, and I thought Endgame was gonna do something with it, and the fact that they've been saying this is the actual closing chapter to Phase 3, they managed to tie that technology in, made me satisfied as a fan of the MCU. I thought that was a really cool thing to infuse in here. But then even bringing back Peter
Billingsley.
Like,
Christmas Story.
I wouldn't have unless you're like a Peter Billingsley fan.
I recognized him. Off the bat.
People who know the name Peter, people probably know Peter Billingsley more than they know that character's name. To even bring it back even more full circle with Iron Man 1, I thought was a neat addition. I thought we were going to get that with everyone in the team. Whoa, son, everyone here?
These were all small characters in previous movies.
And I also like the fact, too, now when you watch Captain America Civil War and you see, Tony doing the binary augmented retroframing or the B.A.R.F scene, Jake Gyllenhaal's character is off to the side next time you watch Civil War. So that's
they got to George Lucas this and throw him in there in the re-release of Captain America Civil War.
He really was there.
He's right there, guys. We said in our non-spoiler review, the first half, by the numbers, it's pretty much what you saw in the trailers. There's stuff we'll probably go back to talk a little bit more in depth about of what we really loved about it and issues that I personally had. I mentioned in the non-spoiler the thing about Aunt May that I want to talk about a little bit later, but let's stick to this portion of the movie. As it keeps going, we'll get to the post-credit scenes, guys. Don't worry. As it keeps going,
there was a post-credit scene in this movie. Oh my god! I shouldn't have left early.
You left early.
Damn it!
To take a poop. So when we
legit reason.
I mean, it's fairly long movie. One other element I really liked in that second half too, it was one of the things that was really clicking for me in the first half, was the whole thing with MJ. Their relationship, their dynamics, the enhancement of her character. I know there was that whole thing, and there was a little bit of a, I don't know, I want to call it an outcry, but a negative reaction to when Zendaya says, my name is actually MJ. In Homecoming, people were like, that's not my Mary Jane. I like that they have committed to, no, her name's MJ. We're going to call her MJ. We're going to commit to this portrayal that we have. And she's so opposite to Peter, but this movie, you really see their chemistry really come into play. I wish the trailers did not reveal that she knew that he's Spider-Man.
They cover it, because that actually wound up as an actual surprise to me in the movie itself.
Really? In the trailer, she flat out says, you're Spider-Man. And you go, what?
Yeah, but there's a cut back when she goes, I'm just messing with you. Like, and there's a relief moment.
Is there?
Or at least in some of the ads I've seen, they do that. Initially, in that moment, I was like, okay, when's the joke gonna wrap up? I've seen this in the trailer, and then it didn't. And I was like, oh, damn.
Well, the handling of that moment I thought was great. When he realizes that, okay, there's this illusion technology, and then he's like, turns around. Look, I'm Spider-Man. I messed up really bad. The best way to, such a different way for him to reveal he's Spider-Man, because it seems like when he reveals it, it's never because he just really wants to. I got no choice but to show it off now, you know?
Yeah. No, and also, too, the jig was kind of up. I mean, he's always leaving to go somewhere. I mean, she even mentioned Washington, D.C., and then when he just left the opera, and then that night, what was his name? The monkey night? The night monkey who was out there. So I mean, kind of coincidental.
I think that's one of the things I really credit this film for, is the fact that they know that this is the MCU. Let's say there was no MCU and it was just a Spider-Man movie. People could detect this, right? But it's even more likely that they could figure it out in the world they live in now. You know what I mean? Yeah. With what they call the blip, which is a funny name to give the snapping in, the decimation. With the world they live in now, I like that the characters are pretty smart, and I liked how Peter himself was like, with Washington, me being here, Spider-Man, they're gonna figure it out. Like, he was aware that they could figure it out, and I thought that was some really neat writing that they infused in here. Hopping forward a little bit more, the Mysterio sequences. When he's able to go into, like, mess with Peter in order to, so that way he could find out who Peter told about the whole Mysterio truth stuff, also regain that technology thing back. Those sequences were mind-blowing. Like we mentioned, we saw this in 4DX and 3D. It was really great there, but I think even without having seen it in that format, I'd still be like mind blown by it, because it's not exactly a Doctor Strange sequence. It's still very in tune with what Mysterio can pull off and what Mysterio can actually do. What do you guys think about those moments?
Oh, I mean, for me, just the illusions were outstanding. The visual effects, they get so much credit, that team, and just John Watt's eye for like how he had the camera working and all that. Like, I mean, I was just kept on getting fooled. Like, I couldn't even tell what was going on, but in a good way. And like, I'm like, this really feels like Mysterio, and it's just some of the most mind-blowing visual effects I've seen in a while, just with how they were doing it and how like Spider-Man couldn't even tell where he was going, and then kind of that arc he gets later. But for me, I thought that the first fight he had with Mysterio, and that was unbelievable with the illusions we were getting in there, and I just couldn't tell what was what. That's what you're supposed to do when you're with Mysterio. Like, they just did it right.
Yeah, they're good at putting you in Peter's shoes with that, because he is clever and he is really disorienting when he's in attack mode. And yeah, the surreal sequences are some of my favorites across the Marvel movies, when they really throw down on innovative visuals and really realizing those things that you thought were unfilmable from comics of the past. Because I remember even when they announced the Mysterio was going to be the villain for this movie, people were like, I don't know, this could be really silly. I was dazzled, when Doctor Strange got all crazy, and this kind of took that just in a different direction for me with those sequences. So,
well, it was very personal. The idea of the illusions was all within the Peter Parker mindset. Whereas with like Doctor Strange, you're like, look at all this crazy cosmic stuff. There's like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo going on. But everything here felt very specifically calculated of what they wanted to infuse in here, right down to going to the graveyard. Like an Iron Man zombie.
Marvel zombies.
Yeah. Like, that was I thought it was going to be Ben Parker, actually, when we first got to the grave.
These
like,
movies
Parker
don't
in a Spider-Man movie?
No. Oh, it's Ben Parker. No, all he gets is an initial on a briefcase here.
This is
We will not acknowledge him. Yeah.
No, you got Tony Stark.
Yeah. Also, the way the sequence played out with like Nick Fury shooting Mysterio, I thought was also great, because I had that bummer of a moment of, oh, well, okay, so what's going to happen? Mysterio's going to get captured. He's going to break out. We're going to have a big third act finale. Like, my mind started just going through, like, what would a Marvel movie do? Yep. And then, oh, they did it, like, right away. That seems like twist upon twist upon twist upon twist, which is what you need for a great, memorable Mysterio sequence. And I'm so glad they didn't even tease any of that in the trailers.
Yeah.
That made me very... Like, most of the trailer footage is any sequence of the elementals, because... that's all part of the illusion game. Like, they pretty much stuck to committing to the illusion game and putting you in the mindset of what our protagonists think is going on.
Yeah.
And not showing you at all the reality of the situation. What I gotta say, though, is, like, Tom Holland had a moment in here that I just loved. And I don't know if this moment really stands out to you guys, but for me, when I think of a moment that I love with Tom Holland's performance, I specifically flash to after, like, where's he in, after he's on the train, the
Neanderthal?
Oh, the Netherlands.
Neanderthals.
Yeah. That's what I meant. The guys in the prison.
Yeah,
because in the native language, I think it's Nederland or whatever on their hats. Yeah,
he's like in the flower field, and then Happy shows up.
Yeah.
That moment when he's like, prove to me you're happy. Tell me something only happy would know. Like, how on edge he is of the culmination of the stresses he's gone through that have led him to this very specific breaking point.
Yeah, he's like fraught in that moment, and
Yes.
it's really tangible.
That to me is my favorite, like, gravitas moment of Peter Parker out of any moment here in all of the Spider-Man movies. I mean, a lot of people probably go to when he's crying in front of Tony Stark, or when he's, get up Spider-Man, people will probably reference those. But there was something about the performance there that just really clicked for me on a pure core level.
Well, because he is like the complete anchor of that moment. It doesn't rely on anybody else. Yeah. I mean, Happy is a part of that moment.
And I guess it's the effect, too, that shows you Mysterio's fucking with his mind.
Yeah, it's like he's really starting to take a toll on Peter.
But just think about everything he's gone through so far in this film on top of everything else he's gone through in the other films. I mean, he's just found a new mentor who's already been betrayed. He can't get a minute alone with MJ without some guy, taking a picture of him where it looks like he's having sex with a European chick. I mean, he's dealing with a lot, and at the end of the day, he's just a 16-year-old kid. I think, like you say, it just really got me in that moment. I just found myself, like, beyond invested when he was, like, speaking there. Like, it's very relatable to what he's been going through. Completely agree. That moment definitely stands out in his performance for sure.
And in the next scene, the
building of the suit.
The building of the suit.
Kind of reminded me a little of Mission Impossible with the face when they're doing the face mask a little bit. Kind of reminded me a little like that.
It's got espionage vibes throughout the film.
Yeah.
I thought it was well justified, the different uses of suits. Well, we would see like the black Spider-Man suit in here. We're like, why is he doing that? What? Huh? And then you're like, well, people will be able to know what Spider-Man is. So I'm like, oh wow, that one line really cleared that whole thing up of why we're all theorizing why he has a totally different suit in Europe. You asked me after the movie like what my favorite suit was in the film, and I don't know about what aesthetically my favorite suit was, but I will say that the final suit ended up being my favorite because he made that suit. He's been given so many suits.
Well, yeah, and the thing that was neat about that particular suit as compared to all the other ones is that throughout the battle you can see it getting ripped up and it feels like it's actual tangible material, because as cool as the Iron Spider suit is, it actually detracts from the effect for me, because I'm like, oh, it's all nanotech and it's a computer and it's kind of fundamentally outside what I at least associate with Spider-Man. So seeing him like really take ownership of this more classic suit again just made me happy inside.
Happy
Made me Hogan inside.
Happy helped a lot. You said when he builds a suit, and then you get to that crazy third act finale, which of course more awesome visuals are just infused throughout. I gotta say, I love what they've done with the spider sense ability, calling it the Peter Tingle. That's my favorite thing about it, the Peter Tingle. Because Spider-Man's funny. So with the Peter Tingle element, I think it's great how they've been building up the spider sense power. Because from the franchise of the not just the comics and the show, but then also the Tobey Maguire one, the Andrew Garfield one, it's just a thing he has. A spider sense is one of his things. And here they're showing that it's really a special, unique ability about being able to trust himself and trust his instincts. Be able to follow his intuition. They're honing in on it. To me, this is the coolest the spider sense has ever been. Now, even though it's not really present through a lot of the movie.
Well, that contributes to its becoming an actual moment when it does appear.
Yeah, when he has to ultimately defeat Mysterio in his sequence. What does he say?
Get away from her, you bitch.
No, what he says, like when Mysterio puts him in, when he's on the bridge with him and he puts him in the illusion game, and he says like, "Come on, Peter Tingle," or something like that.
Yeah,
He doesn't know what else to call it. They made the spider sense that much cooler because of the fact of how they've been building up this power and how it comes from this idea of having to trust himself. Kind of harkens a little bit to Spider-Man 2, of being able to, I know this is like a Spider-Man 2, this is Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, of being able to embrace his inner self in order to be able to use his powers. It's kind of a thing that we got here of, in order to defeat Mysterio and be able to trust his spider sense to defeat this mind game, he has to be able to trust his own mind and heart. So I love the way they handled the spider sense here. Thoughts?
No, I agree, and also too, I'd say they, yeah, you didn't say much there. Yeah, I'd also say too that they kind of heard some of the complaints, you know, from the other movies that didn't really focus on his spider sense. I mean, even though we saw glimpses of it in Civil War and Homecoming and in Infinity War, we did see, because remember he could sense, you know, right before the Guardians came and all that. No, I agree with you. They handled it in a very mature and interesting way, and was done differently than it's been done in the other films, and it was just executed just in a way where I'm like, well, that was really interesting. I like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally. And it gives it a quality that he's still growing into the full extent of his power that just makes for a nice set of details, as this is part of, you know, a franchise that will go for installments, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It does make for sort of an evolutionary process with him, not just like, okay, he's got all the powers and maybe he'll have a new suit next time.
Movie ends, he's back to New York, and it's all dandy.
Or is it?
Then I'm not gonna lie, they did show one of those TV spots, didn't they, with him and MJ, right?
Yeah, they definitely.
Sony can't help themselves sometimes when they show those end TV spots. Maybe Spider-Man 2.
They didn't show the very end of that scene though.
True.
What's funny is I thought it kind of ended funny, and then I thought the first post-credit scene was the actual ending of the movie, and they were like, let's just put a little break here.
Yeah.
Because if you don't watch that post-credit scene, it's a very different ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can still have the second post-credit scene and you get the same exact movie. That first post-credit scene changes the whole journey that you've just been on, especially the final note before the credits roll, which I thought was very fascinating. J. Jonah Jameson, first off, appears on screen.
Commissioner Gordon's in this?
Which creates some questions here. Is it just like a fun cameo? Does that mean that when J. Jonah Jameson is officially in as a character, not just like a little fun thing, will he be
origin movie, man? That's the next phase of the Marvel. We're gonna spin off all the non-supers.
I know you're saying that as a joke, but I'd actually be down for that. But that'll never happen.
But will it be J.K. Simmons in the role? I suppose it might raise some questions.
What are the rules?
What are the rules here? This is establishing a multiverse. Does that mean the Tobey Maguire multiverse works? But is that why they didn't decide to put him in any of the J. Jonah Jameson makeup that they had him in for the Raimi Spider-Man ones? Okay, no, this is still a different thing. We just got the same actor to do it because there's really no other actor who could do it as well.
Or is it like this is an alternate dimension and he just looks a little different in this one? You know,
yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities that are a little vague.
Because it can't be like the origin of it. That just wouldn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
I hope. I would be nice though if they're hinting at really actually the multiverse and Spider-Verse and all of that. That'd be freaking amazing.
Spider-Man is the one character out of them all that would be freaking awesome to lend itself to. Oh my God, we got a Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland movie. Wow.
That'd be so
all in one. That'd be crazy. That'd be
putting
cool.
together a special team, but only you three.
But anyway, to the big moment of that, other than that fun nugget, the scene where Mysterio has created the ultimate illusion, where it makes it look like Spider-Man killed him. Also, by the way, Mysterio's actually he's dead too. Before we go into this, Mysterio's dead.
I figured that was a posthumous thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's your end game? Unless he's part of a bigger organization we're about to find out about. But I was like, I guess you just really wanted to take this kid down a peg on your way out.
Mysterio's actually dead. But with that moment, though, he tells everyone. It's like he's back in New York. He's got his girl. Everything's going good for Peter at this moment. And then he tells everyone that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
And then shows his picture.
Oh, God. Yeah. That is a freaking ending, right? Like, people told me there's a shocking post-credit scene.
Jaw drop.
And I did not predict that. I didn't come anywhere near predicting that, honestly.
No, it's a complete blindside, and they're smart because it starts off so innocuously. It starts out as one of those, like, well, this is just going to be a cute, fun post-credit scene or whatever, you know, just, like, add a little button joke, and then it is like the most shocking element of the entire movie.
Sets up our part 3 for something intriguing. Guys, thoughts? Andrew, go.
Yeah,
Go.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, like, even if they would have just ended the mid-credit scene there as with J. Jonah Jameson, I went, yeah, we got J.K. Simmons back, great. But then when you actually get that reveal that, you know, of Quentin Beck, you know, telling the world that he's Spider-Man, like, oh my God, like, what does this mean for the future? Because Spider-Man is obviously we know in the comic book Civil War, he reveals his identity, but that's on his terms. Like, this is kind of the introverted reverse Iron Man, where at the end of Iron Man 1, he tells the world, I am Iron Man, and now Peter is under duress and stress when the world now finds out who he is, because he's very, you know, guided about his identity. So
right.
it's going to be interesting seeing, like, in the future. I mean, now we know J. Jonah Jameson will have no problem hiring him. He's like, he can get any shot he wants of Spider-Man. But it is going to be interesting to see how they do this.
I would want them to commit to this angle and not reverse any of this. We've seen so many Spider-Man stories. It's in his DNA of the whole, like, struggle with keeping his identity secret and having a personal life and a superhero life.
The ones he loves, too.
But then this opens up a whole new door of a completely different kind of Spider-Man movie that we can get. It has to really challenge all those themes, his relationships, everything. So it got me very excited for what they could do for a sequel with his identity's always been secret in almost everything we've seen. For his secret to be out there as a teenager? With the verse that he can never get a job at the Daily Bugle.
I was gonna say,
as a photographer.
I'd love to have seen.
He can't do anything.
He can't do anything.
I mean,
that's my concern. What's he gonna do for a living?
Yeah.
I'd love to see, obviously, everyone's reaction, but I'm kind of curious as to Flash's reaction, because Flash hates Peter, but he loves Spider-Man. So it's like, what is he supposed to think in that moment?
He's gonna kiss him.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna be full on gay in the next one.
Yes.
Well, now he's gonna understand why that slap hurt so hard.
I feel like there'll be like plenty of theories to go around till the next Spider-Man movie of what's gonna go on next. But now I'm like, when's that next Spider-Man movie coming out? Like, now I'm at that point. Yeah.
Well, and it's weird too, because like the way the post-credit scenes are organized, it goes from this like huge crescendo that does make you wonder about like the future of Spider-Man to this like still interesting but lesser ending note where you're like, okay, maybe we're getting a glimpse basically at like what the sort of future look of the MCU is going to be, because you got Nick Fury on this space station chilling out, and we find out that Maria Hill and Nick Fury on Earth have been Skrulls the entire time, or Talos and the other Skrull the entire time, which felt like, especially on the heels of that, just a weird reveal that made me go, huh, more than it surprised or really drew me in.
So it
just made me ask questions.
Was it just that he wanted to take a vacation, but work still had to be done? So he's like, "You guys fill in for me."
Or the dude was just dusted for 5 years. He wanted to, I mean, I get you can make the argument he's already been gone for 5 years, but I mean, we don't exactly know what he was experiencing in the when he was decimated.
According to what everyone else experiences, that they were gone and then they're back.
That's true, but he
runs
runs a pretty top level, organization. I could see why he needed a little break or wanted to get to space. So,
but is it actually setting up something specific for us to like experience, or is this like a fun little wink at the audience? I'm not like you. I'm a little bit more in that arena of I'm kind of confused as to what the point of this what is this is this what is this setting up? Clearly there was a Nick Fury before the decimation happened,
right? The one at the funeral, that's really Nick Fury.
But so why did he do this? Does he have a bigger mission he's working on and he was just on break that we cut to,
or is he on that bigger mission and just he's in transit or something? Or I that was the best explanation I could come up with, was, well, he's just working on the next most important phase of whatever the Avengers have to do now. The only concrete thing I've heard is not concrete, because it's a rumor that Phase 4 will be more heavily cosmic than Earth-based, and so that's kind of how I read that post-scene was, oh, okay, then Nick Fury's going to be running things from space, and we're going to do a lot of stuff from space.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I mean, I'm down to leave
the
Earth
new
for a little
Watchtower.
Yeah. One post-credit scene was a, huh? And everyone was, huh?
Yeah.
But they both leave us a very strong, surprising impression. That's for sure. Now we've covered the main big ones.
Tom Holland and Zendaya, I love their chemistry together. They are really good. I mean, I really did find myself so invested in their relationship that when we get to the end, like, they really are. I mean, Betty Brant said it perfectly for us. They're just so cute together.
They are.
I know that I kind of went a little off topic there, but I just wanted to say that before we ended. Like, those two are really good together. We got a lot of people who love the original ones, and I I do too. Not Spider-Man 3 as much. You know, I felt they have a different kind, but a better chemistry than Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire, and I'm going to get killed for saying that, but I do like their chemistry a lot. They really do click together, even though they've got different personalities. There's just like there's a yin to their yang. I mean, a yin to her yang. Like, they really just do work together really well.
Well, speaking of the relationship part, one thing I want to say is I love the way they handle the Betty Brant and Ned relationship.
Yeah, babe.
Because they get on the flight and that whole situation happens. You're watching like little montage moments of what, like, oh, there's something that they're clicking, right? I think the reason why it worked so much for me was because of the joke that landed so well when they got off the plane. When Peter goes up to him and he's like, what's that guy's name? Davis character? Brad, yeah. When he's like, MJ was sitting next to Brad the whole time and they were laughing and having such a great time. And he's like, it's not a big deal. They were just on a plane. They were just sitting next to each other. Who cares? And then Betty comes up to him, hey, babe. And he's like trying to tell Peter that this wasn't a big deal. But then now he has a girlfriend from the exact same experience that Peter was worried about with MJ.
Very clever writing.
Like that, literally the writing of that made the whole rest of that bit work so well for me because of how they introduced that. Because I know some people have felt that one joke, Ned is not much of a character in here, and they sort of just resort to this little bit that they have with Betty. I sort of felt like in order to give MJ more screen time and flesh her out better, they had to sacrifice a little bit of Ned time in order to do that. Personally thought it was so funny. I really thought it was hilarious. But even backtracking a little bit more here, I like Happy Hogan a lot in this film, and I like the relationship he's been forming with Peter as not just like dude who's just criticizing the shit out of him, and like it's like from in Homecoming
he was bothered by him.
It just seems like he hated Peter, and then in Homecoming,
just this annoying little kid.
Yeah, and then to see where the relationship is now and a little bit of a different change of character because of Happy being affected by the death of Tony as well, I thought it was great.
And he's dating his aunt.
Let's talk about that. I do have major gripes with the way Aunt May is currently being handled. Like, I didn't mind at all. In Civil War, hot Aunt Marissa Tomei, that's funny, that's cool, he's younger, sure, why not, who cares? And then in Homecoming, you get little scenes here or there where you see some of their relationship. I still didn't really feel much for it. I just couldn't help but question the dynamics between Peter and Aunt May in this movie. I totally get that. We've seen the origin tale a bunch of times. With great power comes great responsibility. We've heard that quote a bunch of times. The same time, I'm not here to make an argument exactly of how that is such an integral ingredient to the Peter Parker character, because I do feel strongly about that. I want to talk strictly about the relationship between Aunt May and Peter Parker.
They're dudes, they're buds.
They're just buddies in this film, and to me, it undercuts so much of what could be a lot of depth. At the end of the day, the Ben Parker story does exist. They've hinted at it in Homecoming. Civil War. They hinted at it, and then here there's the initials of BFP on the luggage showing, no, that thing did happen. There's a reason why she's a single aunt taking care of her nephew, because she had a husband who died. So we have that. And then you also have the cliffhanger of Homecoming. That was a great cliffhanger when she sees Peter as Spider-Man. Now, what the fuck? And then it cuts to the credits because, oh man, we haven't seen a story yet where Aunt May knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man, her nephew. And there's just no weight to their relationship, and especially in this movie. It's all gone. She's just pimping him out in the beginning, high-fiving him. Great job. You're doing great. I'm going to kind of criticize you on how stiff you were out there. And she seems to be more in tune for this joke for Happy Hogan and them dating, which I'm like, we're already kind of getting that joke with Betty, Brant, and Ned, so...
Yeah, it really felt like a lesser version of that joke, and it was a bummer because it completely waters down Aunt May's presence and contribution to the movie, and it's like you could have made her still a very enjoyable, hip character while also making her feel like an actual person with a relationship to Peter who might care very much about his well-being, you know?
It also didn't, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it didn't feel like he had been gone for 5, because I'm assuming she survived the snap.
I think
don't know.
someone said that she was actually gone from the snap too.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
though.
but still, she didn't seem like a concerned aunt. Like whenever he's in danger, in trouble, like it.
Yeah,
you didn't get the feeling
towards danger in this movie.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's your nephew. There's no extra layer of that's still my nephew. I'm still his guardian.
Yeah.
He's still a 16-year-old boy. You know, there's none of that present. They sway so much away from that because the MCU seems so intent on not covering any of Uncle Ben. I get you don't want to fully explore it, but it is an integral part to his character. It's an integral part to the whole dichotomy of the relationship between Aunt May and Peter Parker. If you don't want to use any of like specifics of Uncle Ben, at least add layers of gravitas to some of the conflict that could form from the relationship. Instead, she just seems so breezy about everything. I do take big issue with that. It's okay. Plus, you got fucking Marissa Tomei in there.
She's a terrific actress.
Yeah. Use her for more than just hot aunt who's cool, you know? It was cute and charming in Civil War for the 5 minutes she's in there, but if you're gonna make her a character in the franchise of Spider-Man, use her. And I have big issues with the way they handle her.
And speaking of adults, I thought that they were able to get, I mean, Peter's understandable, but some of the other kids, they were just able to go wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted, even when they were supposed to be like at the opera house, they just walk out.
Yeah.
It just felt like the chaperones were doing a really bad job of chaperoning.
Well, I see some of my nitpicks.
That's more nitpicking, I know.
I don't think it's a full-on nitpick because some of my criticisms that come with the first half of this movie, whereas I felt in Homecoming the comedy really meshed super well. I felt like in the first half, overall, really funny film. But there were some moments that I could just feel like, okay, they're doing a comedy bit. They're doing a comedy scene. We're taking time to do comedy right here. And it seemed like, especially with the teacher characters, that they really just like made them total jokes in this movie.
There becomes a point at which there are two kinds of characters in the movie. There are characters that feel like actual characters that fit whatever the conceit of the world is. And then you got a bunch of joke characters who only exist to be jokes and who don't have any other dimension besides that.
Also, one of the teachers, he reminded me of one of the lines we got in Ant-Man the Wasp. Like, this is the work of gypsies. And he's like, it's witches. It's definitely witches. Like,
which is funny. It's like there are all these things that are funny, but without any kind of contrast to temper them. It becomes like that guy at the party who's like, I would like to just have a conversation with you, though. Like,
you don't always have to be funny.
You don't always have to hit me with a one-liner. Like, you know.
Yeah, we know people like that in real life. Some good friends of ours.
True that.
You're watching, you made it this far, buddy. I hope you know it's you. I like the opening blip, though, moment of how they had a lot of levity to the deaths and the loss of Captain America and Black Widow.
Oh, yeah.
Like this, because I was like, did Peter Parker put this together? But when they show that it's I thought that was like a really clever way to add levity, of a way to transition properly after Endgame, something so much weight into this movie. I thought that was really clever.
Watching that sequence made me want to watch the movie Bodyguard.
I guess some questions that I do have are the elementals, are they Mandarin? Were they never real? Because in the comics, they're real characters, they're real villains. This movie, they're only illusions. I know they were talking about how, hey, there are some things in mythology that are real, like Thor. So will we see the real elementals ever appear again? Kevin Feige has yet to live up to his word on the idea of the Mandarin coming back, because we haven't seen that. Or are they just characters they don't care to explore? So will we see a real version of them? Even though I love the Mysterio sequences, there are some things about it that nitpick questions, not really like a criticism of the movie, but just more like, wait a minute, I'm kind of confused on how this works. Like when he is toying with Spider-Man's mind, are they illusions that that Mysterio and team work together on, of like doing like psychological background research on Peter and be like, we got to create specifically this for this thing to really pull out of him? Or was he using B.A.R.F technology and to go into his mind? So can he see into like so some of those things were a little bit questionable to me, not in the immediate moment, just like leaving the screening, and I was like, wait, how did this work exactly? Overall, great time, and I really like how there were actually plenty of like really cool spoilers to talk about with this movie. Things where I'm like, wow, I gotta.
The whole second half of this movie is a spoiler.
Once it's like, no, okay, it's official. He's definitely a villain. It becomes like spoiler from then on out.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, what were your favorite moments from Spider-Man: Far From Home? What were the biggest like shocking things to come out of this film? Were you disappointed by it? Did you love it? Leave a comment down below. Andrew, thanks for being here. Make sure to go check out his YouTube channel, Movie Source channel. Follow him on social media at Agor711. We're the Real Rejects. Subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. And Skillshare, thank you guys so much for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, don't forget to sign up for your free 2-month trial. Link in the description box and pin comment.